Um, Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a pleasure to be here. And I'm not saying just for formality's sake, but it's really a pleasure to see all the names of women on this dais. Usually, the most daises I go to, only men sit on the dais. And I have to look around to see if there's any women I can call on the dais. But this is a change. We have all women well known who have done a lot in their field going to be sitting on the dais today. So I would like to thank the Kantipur publication for making this happen. I think this is the second installment of this program. Last year I was not in town, so I did not even know this existed, but I'm very happy about this initiative, and I'd like to congratulate both Swastika and Kailashji for this initiative, because I know Swastika may have had a lot to do with getting this on track. Thank you. And it's good to be here. As I can see from the audience, it's a mixed audience of people with gray hair, people who are very young, and people around my age. So it's a mix of Nepali life. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of people watching online too. And what I would like to say, the title was very, very interesting for me. Nirbhikya Nari means the fearless woman. And I started thinking, okay, how does this title, what do I think of it? And I really think if you really look at what is the essence of a woman in our culture, in our society, in fact, in human civilization, the essence of a woman is that of motherhood. Once you are a mother, that's how the human race has continued. If women refused to be mothers, or if they were too scared to be mothers, there would be no human race. And I'm not saying motherhood as just very simple. Being a mother is one of the most toughest things in life, as most women will share. I always would think, if men had to be mothers, what would happen? Would the human race even exist? Because every woman who is going to have a baby, you don't need to have a PhD or be very educated. You know there is a risk associated with it. Pregnancy is not a disease, but there is a risk. The risk of even death. Because anything can happen at the moment of birth. But still, despite all this knowledge, all this evidence in front of your eyes, women have not stopped being mothers. They have not stopped birthing babies. They have not stopped spending nights after nights till the child is almost 5 or 6 years old, putting somebody before you, nursing the child under whatever circumstances. So if that is not bravery, then what is? To be a mother is one of the bravest things I think women have undertaken. But it doesn't stop there, because we think it's part of our natural role. We think, being a mother is natural. So we don't even think much about it. But if you really analyze what it entails to be a mother, it really shows the strength of a woman. And I think that is what is reflected in our scriptures too. Whether it is Sita, who gave up the luxury of a palace, security, and a safe home, and followed Ram. And when we think of them as gods, so we don't really know their age. But I think they were very, very young when Sita followed Ram to the jungle. And I always used to think of Sita as this crying woman, but now I'm older and I look back at life and what she really stood for. I think what she taught us was forbearance, fortitude, strength of mind, and how she could go to the forest. And that also a very scary place called Dandakaranya Ban, which is still scary, by the way. That's where all the Maoists all the Naxalites of India still hide. So even in those days, Dandakaranya forest was a very, very scary place with lots of rakshas, all these demons and monsters. But she had the guts to go there. Then she is also this very strong woman who, with just strength of her personality, her righteousness, and her morality, could cow down Ravan, who dared not touch her even after kidnapping her. So those are the kinds of aspirations that we have been brought up to look at. So of course, all of us growing up in Nepal, maybe even in India, maybe in other places of the world where we have the same imagery that we grew up to, think of ourselves as self-effacing women, but what is the strength behind that? How difficult is it for all of us to be self-effacing, to pretend you don't know when you know? I know a lot of women who act dumb because if they act too clever, then they will not be appreciated. That needs strength. try telling men to act down when they know things. They will come and beat you up. But women are not like that, We have a different kind of attitude towards life. We have a different kind of touch. We have a gentler touch. That's why, human race has flourished. If women and men were exactly the same, if we tried to show the same sort of aggressive spirit as men, then I don't think human beings would have gone very far. But our strength is in our forbearance, our fortitude, our patience, and our readiness to learn anything new. I'd also talked about this in a program some days ago. If we are not strong, how could all of us, I think most of us are married, been transplanted, into a new home? I can't imagine any man will think, tomorrow I'll get up, there will be a ceremony, and I will go and live with a house full of strangers. Most probably I won't even know my wife, my sasu, sasura, everyone, and I have to learn to not only live with them, but to love them also. So unless you are very strong, you will not be able to do that. But we have been brought up to do that. And all of us have been doing that. If that is not the strength of a woman, then what is the strength? Because, strength of a woman doesn't mean, everyone has to become an astronaut or a leader or a pilot or whatever. Even just being a mother, a housewife, somebody who's nurturing a society, a culture, you have to be strong. You cannot, and taking leadership is not easy. Men will always define you. Any woman who opens her mouth more than 2 seconds is not considered a likable woman. I know most men don't like me, but big deal, I don't want most men to like me too. And I know a lot of women who are in different positions, who have, reached, some place in their careers, have faced a lot. I've been told to my face, in Parliament, I wanted to put a point across, and the chief whip of my party told me, "Aren't you happy to be seen? Do you have to be heard?" I was really taken aback by that, But that's the attitude lot of men have towards women, and that's the other point that I want to make. It's how we bring up our children to look at themselves. We only bring up sons to make them feel like, okay, macho, you must be not dominated, you must be aggressive, you are it. Everyone, at least born in Nepal, is a Raja. Every child is a Raja. But why can't every child, daughter also be a Maharani? Why can't we also be a Maharani? Why can't we also have our terms on things? Why can't we tell our daughters that, you don't need to tolerate, you don't need to be beaten, you don't need to be subdued? Why should we do it less? Why should we have less rights, less food, less, speaking spaces, less mobility? Why should we contend with less? So we have to teach our daughters that you are equal to men. And maybe that was the lesson I learned in my life, because I never remember being taught any differently. My parents used to treat me and my brother exactly the same. So I used to go hunting. Those days it was called hunting, but now it's poaching, so no one should go do that anymore. But I was allowed to do whatever the boys were allowed to do. I was allowed to stay late. I was given the equal amount of food. I was never told I have to eat after my brother. So I grew up thinking I'm equal to any man. So that kind of, upbringing is important if we want to create the fearless woman. Because the things you learn by the time you are 4 years old stays with you for the rest of your life. You can't suddenly, plant a corn and then suddenly it's going to become a, blade of wheat or rice. So the psychological conditioning of a child, whether it's a girl child or a boy child, has to start from the time they are very, very young. So when we do things, because we are all part of the same culture, whether we are men or women, sometimes, we discriminate. Even like I sometimes say, somebody is expecting, so I'll say, "Chora paunch wale," and then I think, no, chori is also better, in fact, even better. So, that kind of trap we are also in. Even the women, we ourselves are encouraging patriarchy. So how do we make a conscious effort to break that? To really see our daughters for what they are, to see ourselves for what we are. I think one of the sessions is on self-esteem. And that's the thing. Every woman underestimates themselves because nobody has told us our worth. So I think knowing our worth, telling our daughters our worth is a part of the aspect. The other aspect is, all the aspirations that we look at, even the men in the society have a role to play. Like even today's program, half of the organizers are men, maybe even more than half. They also have to play a role to help us to come along, because statistics from all over the world has shown that unless women and men progress together, no society or country can develop. And I think, in the Kantipur group, this has become something that they believe in, because they are doing this program. I'm sure it's going to cost a lot of money in all this media, hall, everything. But they're putting it's not only during Dashera and Diwali that they are doing, goddess puja, Durga, Saraswati, Lakshmi. They also believe that every woman is Durga, Saraswati, Lakshmi. So that is the kind of environment we have to create as a society. Because the legal context is there. I know there's going to be a lot of speakers on the legal aspects. But we have worked very, very hard during writing of the Constitution to ensure that all the rights that we as women didn't get as children, or the rights we saw were missing in society, have been put into the Constitution. And the interesting part is, we were women from all different political parties, all across the spectrum. But there was not a single issue on which we differed. We all said we must have safe motherhood, we must have equality, equal property rights, we must have the whole gamut of reproductive health, we must have equal citizenship rights. We conquered on each and every right that we wanted to put in the Constitution. So that is there. But the unfolding of it is still a problem. So that's why programs like this are still very important, because it will bring to the forefront, to the national consciousness of men and women, what are the really rights for women? Because the rights for women is not only for women, it's also for the daughters of the men. Don't the men want their daughters to have a good life? Don't the men want their daughters to have a free, mobility? I lived in Japan last year for around 7 months because I was not well. And I was amazed by the amount of security women have there. You can go out at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the night, women are walking around alone. They have no fear because nobody says anything to them. That's the kind of society we would like to see in Nepal, where our daughters are free to go out, where even us old women are happy to go all by ourselves in the night with no issues. But we can do it because other societies have achieved it. Why can't we do it? So these are the kinds of things that we as free women, as women who want to achieve, women who want to get ahead, think about. And I have to share with you about media. I'll share with Kailasji also, because Kailasji, we have this love-hate partnership. Sometimes we are best friends, sometimes we hate each other. So it's okay. He knows and I know, and Swastika also knows. So anyways, I want to share a very interesting experience of being a woman politician. It's women have a difficult life everywhere, whether it's inside the house, like I told you have to go and live in a strange place. And if you're lucky, you have a nice husband and nice family. Sometimes you land up in an abusive situation, and still you have to cope with it. It's not easy for women who leave behind everything in their country and go to a strange country to earn money so that the children can have a nice life. So why would it be easier for me when I want to go into politics? It's the same societal setup. So I went into elections and I lost the election. So I was like, okay, you win, you lose. But my best surprise was I came to Kathmandu and I saw front page on, I think, Nepal magazine. Your group has Nepal magazine. Himal is different. On Nepal magazine, very nice photo of me. Thank you for the photo. And it said, okay, the downfall of ambition. Of Nepali ma thakka ke bhaneko chai, I forgot the term, but it meant like good this woman won. She was so overambitious, she deserved to lose. So first I was a bit taken aback. Then I looked at the inner pages and I was quite happy. They had put such nice photos of me. I didn't care what they had written. Being a woman, you are like that also, But it's okay. But I didn't mind it, because if you get into politics, then you must be ready for the bouquets and the brickbats. So that's the mindset that we women must have if we want to get ahead in life. will be criticized for breaking new barriers because people want to put us into a mold. For a long time, I was in this mold, a very sweet woman. You know, my maternal grandmother used to tell me, "Hasta pani daat nadekha hai, musukka mate hasnu parcha." So, you know, and like, you have to sit on the floor, your head cowed down, you know. But to break that mold was difficult. I'm sure it's been difficult for all of us, you know. It's not easy to break molds. But once you come out of it, so even in politics, it's difficult. And it's going to be even more difficult because men see you as a challenge. And now we've done this clever thing. All the women from all the political parties are put in quota systems. So now they can't overlook us, you know. So I'm going to encourage all of you also to come into politics. Because if you come into politics, then you can make the changes you want to see in your lifetime. Because I worked for a very long time as an NGO worker. I did a lot of good work at the grassroots. But then you cannot change policy. You cannot change programs. So if we want to see this country full of fearless women, political change is one thing we have to see. And that's where all of us have to participate. It's not easy. It's very tough. Nowadays, I put like 3 inches of makeup because my skin is so badly damaged because of the sun. But that's politics. I can't say I'm going to do politics and stay inside. I have to go into the gaon and, you know, and look at people's lives. Because who I'm going to represent, I should know who they are. They should know who I am. I can't just, you know, wave in the television and think I'm going to win a vote. I'm not an actress, you know. I'm a politician. I have to go down there and dirty my hand. So this is the kind of challenge we aspire to. And women in Nepal are leading in every field. Whether it's politics, we have our Rashtrapati Ji. She's, you know, she's also a woman who's done something, reached somewhere, and we have her as our president. We had a speaker, Owen Sari Gharti, who made an excellent speaker. I think she's really, for me, she's been very unbiasedly the best speaker I've ever seen. I was in the parliament for 10 years. She worked so hard, and she was excellent. We've similarly had educationists. We've had hotel industry leaders. I don't know in media if we have a lot of prominent women, but not really leading a flagship. That's the next thing I would like to see. Women leading a media house. And of course, we've had pilots, we've had engineers. You call it, and Nepali women have been it. We have women in the army who become generals, and I still want to see a woman IGP also. So the fearless women in Nepal exist, and we are going to exist even more. And then the men will have to organize a forum like this saying, fearless men. I hope it's not going to be too far in the future. Thank you.